My name is Marina and I welcome you to another edition of Knights Templar International News. For many years we've known about the way in which multi-billionaire George Soros funds liberal and left-wing campaigns all over the world. Black Lives Matter in the USA through to gender-fluid poster campaigns in Spain, the pro-Islamist white helmets in Syria and Pussyriot in Russia. If there's an anti-conservative, anti-Christian hate group at work, it's a pretty safe bet that Soros' money is behind the subversion. Having been a teenage Nazi collaborator in the persecution of his fellow Jews in Hungary, George Soros is now an old man. But if you think that the troublemaking will stop when he's in hell, you are going to be disappointed. Partly because Soros himself is really only a plausibly deniable front for US deep state fronts such as the National Endowment for Democracy. But also because his son Jonathan Soros is now being groomed to take over his father's empire of liberal agitation. One of the operations already being funded and run by Soros Jr. is Friends of Democracy. This was founded back in 2012. Reporting on its creation on July 12 that year, the Washington Post described it as a super PAC. A PAC is a political action committee, the most commonly used instrument for influence politics with big money in the USA. The Post article revealed that the body had plans to spend $8 million to target politicians who opposed its liberal agenda. Jonathan Soros launched it together with David Donnelly, the executive director of the Public Campaign Action Fund. The group's accounts show a busy and expensive first couple of years, but in 2014 it went quiet. The website of Friends of Democracy has not been updated since then. But that is not because Soros and Donnelly have stopped doing what they do. A damning document just leaked on social media shows that they have simply turned Friends of Democracy into an effectively underground organization. And when we look at what it is now doing, it is immediately clear why. Because the leaked document provides startling evidence that validates the old claim that far-left causes are promoted by random mobs. Bearing the Friends of Democracy logo, it is marked Confidential Level 7. And it spells out exactly how the Soros organization uses the old man's money to promote violent disorder on the streets of America for political ends. The first thing to note is the date, April 18, 2015. This was 6 days after the arrest and beating of 25-year-old African-American Freddie Gray. Angry demonstrations were already going on all over the Baltimore-Washington, D.C. region. Gray died the following day, and the combination of black community anger and agitation by the Soros-funded Black Lives Matter led to major public disorder. At least 20 police officers were injured, more than 250 people arrested, 285 to 350 businesses damaged, 150 vehicles and 60 buildings were torched. Thousands of police and Maryland National Guard troops deployed, and a state of emergency was declared in Baltimore. The leaked document reveals that the escalation of violence was deliberately provoked by highly trained agitators inserted into the protests with Soros money. The heading BWI refers to Baltimore-Washington International Airport, which lies in the middle of the area targeted for radicalization. The final orders for the weekend being with a reference to the civil unrest already going on and the aim to exploit it with the help of intelligence from friendly officials in the area. Contacts with friendly officials, including sympathetic police officers, are made repeatedly in the document. This gives a hint of the depth and reach of the subversive organization which these people have built. It is clearly a nationwide operation with deep roots and significant power. It has ops and aux-ops, which clearly means operators and auxiliary operators, plus the agitorgs, agitation organizers, who provide them with the funds that pay them to travel to hotspots and use their training and equipment to make them even hotter. Here is a very interesting point. Look at this reference to recommended e-tire. So now we know how the so-called anti-system anarchists of the far-left black bloc all turn out as they do. They are given not just their orders but also their menacing black uniforms by agitation organizers funded by one of the biggest finance capitalists in the world. Experienced observers have also claimed for years that these fake revolutionaries are used by the liberal elite as unofficial liberal state militias. These left-wing gangs intimidate and physically disrupt patriotic resistance to liberal elite projects such as mass immigration. Here, for the first time, we have concrete evidence for this. Here we see a reference to limited protections from friendly officials in the target area. More important still, LE means law enforcement, in other words, the police. This tells us that senior police officers have given the far-left advance permission to carry out aggressive activity. This, of course, was seen more recently at the Charlottesville riot, where the police turned a blind eye to the far-left mob violence, which created a chaos which allowed the event to be used as the excuse for a massive clampdown on the right throughout the social media. As J.F. Kennedy once said, things don't just happen, they are made to happen. On page 12 we see the aims of the operation. It's all about winding up the local black population into clashes with the police to create opportunities for recruitment, to radicalize people and to sow the seeds of future conflicts. A feedback loop of violence and confrontation. The fact that those responsible have not already been arrested for this blatant illegality tells us all we need to know about how the American deep state is happy with their efforts. The agitators are reminded about what violence they are and are not permitted to use, and how they will get the signal for violence. Bottles, rocks, sticks and blunt objects may be used, provided other demonstrators have already used them. The right time for escalation of violence will depend on the intelligence from friendly police officers to the senior agitation organizers. Once again, we are reminded that these operations are as sophisticated as they are cynical. Towards the end of the document, we get to the heart of the matter: money. The Soros money that pays those so-called anti-establishment revolutionaries. We see that the negotiated amount is paid out in stages. A small amount upfront, then in 2 more blocks. This is clearly partly about retaining control and ensuring the silence and secrecy that is needed. Note the handwritten post-it note on the document suggesting that the sum of $26,000 will be involved this time alone. We find the final bombshells on page 24. These people have coordinated with the relevant tax authorities, so provided everyone does as they are told, they'll all get their money and the Soros revolution will continue, with the approval of the authorities. And the final and biggest payouts are only made each time with the personal approval of David Donnelly. He is the treasurer of Friends of Democracy and, together with Soros Jr., its founder. So now we know for sure. Soros money is used to fund far-left and radical black agitators to provoke civil unrest in the USA, with the approval and help of deep state officials and senior police officers. Everything that informed patriots have said for years about left-wing protests and violence being the tactics of rent-a-mob is proven to be true. We are all deeply indebted to whoever leaked this very important document. It just goes to show that while the devil digs pits for the just and God, it is often his own followers who fall into them. Deus vult.